Good morning to all. I'm honored to be here with you at a time of great sorrow in so many places, a time of great reckoning, and a time in which we are called most of all to assure one another in this very moment here among us that no one is here to harm you. Can we say that to one another right now? No one is here to harm you. There's so much to be sorrowful about. Who are we then to be caught up in some toxic positivity with our sorrows? The irony is that it is our ability to sit with our sorrows that helps us hope. I learned this the hard way. You see, I grew up highly Americanized. Did you know that Philippines is the fourth or fifth largest English-speaking country in the world? Many of our best poets are published in English too. At home, when we start debating or discussing and someone starts to speak English, we then know they mean business. It's like formal language for us. And because of this, I found myself alienated from the cultural tools in my native land, the indigenous ancestral tools that should help me cope with the world, which I'm only now discovering. I've learned only recently that my culture has tools that are important for grief. And one of those tools is dance. Only in the first 2 weeks of a global lockdown back in 2020, a cousin of mine became the youngest frontliner to die. His mother calls him Ibo. He was only 23, a nursing assistant in London. Things quickly fell apart. My Facebook news feeds became filled with black profile pictures. And if you don't know this yet, Filipinos work everywhere, not just as medical frontliners. Cruise ships are filled mostly with Filipino crew members. The global food supply chain or the global supply chain is filled with Filipino handlers. The United Nations has Filipino peacekeepers, and the Middle East has Filipino engineers, and so on. They started disappearing on my timeline. Filipinos don't just live everywhere, they die everywhere. Some of them working in the US, Canada, Italy, Japan, Korea, Hong Kong, you name it. They depend on how foreign governments and foreign employers would protect them. I lost my mom to COVID last April. When I was in high school, I've seen my mom dance her sorrows. When she would have a fight with my dad and he'd walk away, she would put on some music and dance with her sad face. I remember her favorite sorrow dances were to songs from the musical Evita or from Tina Turner's slow songs. It was clear that whatever loss I'm experiencing from my mom's departure, I need to find it. Where is it? They say you embody your stresses and your joys and your memories, and you can feel significant geographies in your teeth. There's actually a scientific study that explains why you feel certain places in your bones because the air, the food, the chemicals, and smells of your places actually become part of your bone chemistry. I had to find my mom within my body. Where was I hiding her? Sometimes we carry our stresses in our frozen shoulder or in our dreaming with clenched teeth. As for me, I'm trying to find the place I put my mother in my body or where she left from me. In 2016, I joined a Native American dance retreat. I was told that this was not publicly announced ever and it was only by invitation that people could join. And an acquaintance of mine in Berkeley asked only me, among others at that table. So she whispered it in my ear. Anyway, when I got there, I realized it was a dance organized by the Radical Fairies, the older queer folks, without whom I would probably still be in the closet. And I danced with Shoshone and Paiute elders who blessed us. We danced for 4 days while chanting. In the middle of our sacred circle was the mound for the ancestors, and we invoked them. And the person who drove me there, he had just lost his wife to cancer after giving birth. They used to go to these dances together. He was in the sacred circle, dancing and crying with his son. Anyone could go in the middle, either to pray, to conjure, or to attend to the ancestors. And that's what I remember about this whole grieving. Because the dance doesn't end in the sacred fire. So I was thinking of dancing. Filipinos have several dances that we struggle to maintain in our culture. Example is the singkil. This tribal dance in the Philippines means to entangle the feet with disturbing objects such as vines or anything in your path. That's the whole meaning of this word. The lead dancer graciously manipulates either fans, scarves, or her hands while she steps in and out of closing bamboo poles. The poles are arranged in either a parallel, rectangular, or crisscross fashion. And it seems that's how I feel at the moment, like I must fight to dance amidst the hurdles that make me want to forget that my mother wanted me to live. But I'm not going to learn to sing kale soon enough. Instead, I must embody this dance in other ways. The philosophy and the ethos of the dance is Muslim in origin from the south. The more modern version of this dance is divided into four movements. The first movement is called asik, which means agitated or to leap for joy or anger. The second movement is about glamour and resplendence, coming in with bells and chimes. The third movement is called patay, meaning dead, which is a slow section. And the fourth movement is the release, in which all dancers dance to the most festive rhythm. Singkil reminds me that the climax or the crescendo in mainstream plots in movies and plays could be quite the opposite. So it can be that they could be the calm before the storm. Probably it can be slow and dead, but enduring. The Hota Folrana, on the other hand, comes from northern Philippines. So this is another dance, Hota Folrana. And this is danced to accompany a bereaved family to the burial of a loved one. The high-pitched clicking of the bamboo clickers are supposed to represent melancholy wails. The slow portion of the dance is in fact also called patay or death, or sometimes it's called dismayo, which means fainting, that is performed to a very slow march. Then there's the vigorous Tadek Indaya, which is an ethnic dance that originated in Ilocos Norte, featuring ceremonial dances portraying death customs, courtship, marriage, and victory. So all this is the range of the meaning of the dance. It is a manifestation of the people's efforts to preserve the distinct culture that binds them together in the highlands. It is believed to cause the soul of the dead to rest. Same dance for the dead is also staged during weddings, where it depicts merrymaking for the married couples and entertained visitors. In courtship, a man and a woman perform the dance, swaying their hands and stomping their feet while following the beat of the gong and drum. Moreover, it is performed as a ritual for the healing of illnesses. Then there is salilingan, which is a worship dance usually performed as a rite observed after a happy event, such as good harvest, but it is also held to commemorate a dead person so that his acceptance into the spirit world may be facilitated. For the Batak people of Palawan, however, members of the family of a sick person perform the Diwata Kat Dibuwat to implore the deity or the Diwata for healing. The dance ritual involves the bathing of the sick, putting body ornaments, and the usual giving of offerings to their dead ancestors. Then in Mansalay, Mindoro Oriental, which is in the middle of the Philippines, Mangyans also perform their traditional dance called Taruk while carrying the bones of their dead ancestor. So these are the dances that help us, number one, recognize the journey of our spirit. Number two, express the complex feelings of grief and good wishes to the departed. And three, releasing into acceptance. So outside of the Philippines, in Chile, the cueca solo, which is a dance of protest where the relatives of the disappeared or those killed by the tyrant, they would dance with their loved ones' photos on their chest. This enables the loved one who is gone to still be present and still be potent in today, to effect the change against violence even when you could say they are no longer. You could still say they continue. There's not just one culture that can answer to the needs of the community, of our communities. Culture is, I propose, a necessary addition to our sources of living tradition. It should be the seventh source. When we approach or accept someone, we need to be mindful not just of their beliefs or the beliefs they bring or their behavior, but also be responsible for understanding the culture through which they convey their meaning. Culture is lived religion, which is why a Roman Catholic in the US is not the same as the Roman Catholic in the Philippines, or a Muslim in Yemen is not the same as the one in Indonesia. Cultures have colored the way scriptures are read, delivered, and preserved. And they also help us interpret the lens in which we view our religion. So, what then is a church without the study of cultures? Thank you. So, this is the benediction. By the grace of diversity, may we find ways we can be truer to ourselves. By the grace of diversity, may we find hidden meanings that we can treasure. By the grace of diversity, may we splendidly co create reality to be fulfilling to us all.